All right, welcome back to the channel. So Terence Crawford versus Manny Pacquiao, once again, as if it ever wasn't, is off the table. And the reason why, the core of it, is that, man, Top Rank ain't got the money for the fights. And Manny Pacquiao probably never wanted to do business with Top Rank at all. However, let's talk about that and what Terence Crawford most likely is going to do next in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. All right, we got to go over this because this is a time in which YouTube gossip literally hurt a boxer. Okay? The fact that this fight was announced for Terence Crawford, and as to his fan base, as if it was a real deal, I think made Terence Crawford take a step back from where he was previously, and that was in a world of trouble. It was in a world of trouble as it relates to the opinions of boxing fans. There's a group of boxing fans that think Terence Crawford is a bad guy, for a lack of a better way to say it, a bad guy because he's acting like he won't fight Sean Porter, he doesn't want to fight Errol Spence, and is kind of acting like a prima donna, right? And a prima donna that doesn't want to prove himself at 147. That, I think, is the most coherent argument that is being presented by the detractors of Terence Crawford, and a viewpoint, dude, that I agree with, right? Can't say that ain't my viewpoint, because it is. I do believe I don't have any problem with what he's done at 140 or 135, but it is what it is with what's coming out of his mouth while he's been at 147. The other group of people are getting on Terence Crawford because of what he said about Canelo Alvarez and him shying away from black fighters. I support what Terence Crawford said in that regard 100 miles an hour. But people are still primarily concerned with who Terence Crawford is going to fight next. And is that fight going to lead to an undisputed fight at welterweight? So when it was announced, and it was announced, it was not, when the people that told me, right, and the people after they heard it from other people, they were told that this fight was done and they were given a date. As a result, everybody that was a Terence Crawford fan and all kind of people that were looking for this fight with Errol Spence Jr. were tremendously encouraged, because that is a great fight. Manny Pacquiao versus Terence Crawford is a great fight, but it is one that the mind, your reason, your logic should have told you, and was telling me for sure, that this fight doesn't make any sense when you look at the parties involved and the situation that the parties involved are in. It just didn't make any sense. The only justification for it happening was that Manny Pacquiao just had a stroke of inspiration that made him say, forget it. I am going to go for it all. I'm going to prove I'm the best fighter in the world, and I'm going to take on a risk that anybody advising me, any matchmaker advising me, would tell me not to take, right? That's why I was like, in my video, I was so complimentary of Manny, because I was like, man, this is incredible. And then I broke down exactly why it was incredible. One, Manny Pacquiao shouldn't take the fight because he's 42, 43 years old, and he's not really a welterweight. He's a smaller guy. If he fights Terence Crawford, a prime Terence Crawford, who is bigger, longer, fresher than him, it is at least an 80% chance, dude, that he loses that fight, and a good chance he loses it by knockout. So, and then if you looked at the value proposition for Manny, the value proposition's not there, because he could have a much bigger fight with Errol Spence. He could have a much bigger fight, right? He could, on the Errol Spence Jr. side, all he has to do is wait till after the Yordenis Ugas fight and fight Errol, and he would be fighting for 3 belts, not 1, right? But he wouldn't fight Errol before. He was in the ring with Errol after the Mikey Garcia fight. And Errol beat Mikey, and Manny was like, yeah, maybe, all kind of queasy about fighting him. So my logic is, why would he be so excited about fighting Terence Crawford, a guy that he didn't fight before? And if you look at the fights that are on the table for Manny Pacquiao, you say, why wouldn't he take Mikey Garcia? Mikey Garcia is an easier fight than Terence Crawford. Mikey Garcia is a smaller fighter. His fighting style does not rely on ridiculous athleticism. So there's a chance Manny Pacquiao might be able to beat Mikey Garcia, right? And he would make as much or more money fighting Mikey Garcia as he would Terence Crawford. And with Mikey Garcia, there's no promotional issue because Bob Arum doesn't get a cut. So the whole thing sounds like the best option for Manny Pacquiao is somebody like a Mikey Garcia, right? Or he could fight Ugas, the guy that has his belt, who also is a lower risk than Terence Crawford. And quite honestly, because it's Manny Pacquiao is going to get paid regardless, and he may get 2-3 fights out of that. So it just didn't make any sense, man. It just didn't make any sense. And I feel sorry for Terence Crawford because he could have, right? Just imagine that they make an announcement on the fight next week, right? Because that's what really caused this. Top Rank came out and said that they were going to announce the fight. And then people said, let me beat it and tell people who it's going to be before Top Rank does. So that's what happened. And the people that are responsible for it, right? And multiple channels did it, not any individual, right? But who's going to bear the grunt of that? The people that did it got the views, right? They got the engagement, right? They got what they needed. But Terence Crawford has an announcement coming up next week, and guess what? It is going to be a lackluster announcement because it's not going to be Manny Pacquiao. He could say he's fighting Keith Thurman. It's going to be a letdown after having an expectation of Manny Pacquiao. It could be Yordenis Ugas. That is going to be a letdown after Manny Pacquiao, right? But also that's unrealistic because of Errol Spence, right? Who's he going to fight? Bruce Booten or, like Steve Kim said, Josecito Lopez? Right now, people came to me and said, how could it be Josecito Lopez? He's not in the WBO rankings. Well, guess what? Tyson Fury wasn't in the WBC rankings until it was known that he was going to fight Deontay Wilder. At that point in time, he was put in the rankings. He took 2 fights and he fought him. All they have to, and plus, if you remember what happened with Austin Trout in the WBO rankings before, dude, they just popped Liam Smith into a rank, right? The highest ranking available guy was Austin Trout. And then magically, Liam Smith took his place. Austin Trout left the rankings. Canelo Alvarez fights Liam Smith, who is now ranked by the WBO, right? Can't fight Austin Trout, who magically is not ranked by him. And then what happens right after the fight? Right after the fight, Liam Smith goes down in the WBO rankings, and Austin Trout miraculously winds up back in the rankings. So don't tell me it can't happen because it's happened before. But the long and short of it is that I kind of feel sorry for Terence Crawford on this because, I thought it was too good to be true. And like many things or most things that are too good to be true, it was. So anyway, you tell me what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.